It doesn't matter what your culture or nationality is. The wedding is a supremely theatrical occasion. You direct your own love story with you and your partner centre stage, and of course your family and friends playing supporting roles. And you create lifelong memories. So, with any great production, you're going to need an accomplished director, someone with a big enough personality, a wealth of experience, and of course the technical ability to create the appropriate sense of occasion at every stage of the proceedings. The English Toastmaster is a tradition that goes back to the 1800s, so there is some formality in terms of uniform and the way we do things. However, the modern Toastmaster will always try and inject a little bit of lightheartedness into the day. So to give you a typical example of my sort of timeline at a wedding, I like to arrive normally an hour before the bride and groom are due to arrive at the wedding reception. That way, I can do any last-minute checks. I can do things like even down to checking that the colour of the flowers are correct, because I will have known that because of the conversations we've had with the bride. I'm your own personal coordinator, so I'm going through my own lists, my own checklists, just making everything's fine, familiarising myself again with the venue, making sure that they're all on track as well, but in doing it in a way that isn't pompous or too businesslike. So trying to inject some relaxing atmosphere in there straight away. So that when the bride and groom arrive, or when your guests start arriving, de-stressing the wedding for the bride is one of the primary roles that I find myself undertaking. She should not be worrying about anything on your wedding day. And what I try and tell them to do is, if you have a professional looking after yourselves, then you will remember some of those little moments that research shows that bride and grooms miss on their wedding days so much. As a Toastmaster, I actually have been away and trained by the English Toastmasters Association, which is the premier association in the UK. You get trained there, as my mentor, young Richard Palmer, would say, you get trained to do a royal wedding. The attitude there is, if you can do a royal wedding, then you can perform technically at any wedding. We cover multicultural weddings, and the backup that you get from that organisation is brilliant. I'm very confident, and especially as I've been doing it a number of years now, that I can handle most occasions that come up at a wedding. And of course, it's all about the planning. What happens is, once you book your wedding Toastmaster or MC or Master of Ceremonies, it means you don't have to worry about working with a number of different individuals. You can be confident there will be continuity between all the different aspects of your special day. However, that person is then representing you, so it is quite important that you actually get on with that person, or at least find some connection. My job is to make sure that everybody, including all the guests, all the staff at the venue, are informed as to what's going on. That's a very big part of the job of being a Toastmaster, is communication, so that we should never have guests wondering what's happening next. That's the whole idea of hiring somebody like myself to do that job, if you like, so that you don't have Auntie Hilda going up to the bride and groom saying, "What are we going to do now? Where do you want me?" She'll be coming to the red coat, because the red coat will give you that authority. Don't always wear the red coat, but I always stamp that authority on the wedding, so they know I'm the come-to person if they need to know anything. The grand entrance is to be honest, it's one of the most memorable parts of the day. And some of the feedback I get from brides and grooms is that's their favourite part of the day after getting married. Almost a prerequisite of me accepting any jobs is that I meet the bride and groom, and we spend more time talking about their ideas and the dreams they have for their weddings, and maybe some of the cultural differences that can occur at a wedding. So what we do is we formulate a plan of action. Yes, there will be a timeline. I use the word ish quite a bit in my timelines, because I say there's two set times. The times you have to sit down for your meal, and the time that you are getting married. Apart from that, everything else can float a little bit. But of course, if you don't have somebody directing that theatrical production, then it'll just go off course completely. So it's all about the personalities. I like to get the bride and groom's, and maybe the family's personalities, very much into the whole day, not just with the wedding favours or the flowers, but actually get their personalities. And there are many ways we do that as trained Toastmasters. Traditionally, the Toastmaster or Master of Ceremonies will introduce the speeches at the end of the wedding breakfast. And for those, I get asked this by virtually every couple, what is the formal order of speakers? It's very simple. The father of the bride, the groom, and then the best man. I always say, you can have it any order you want though, because there shouldn't be any rules, because it's your day. However, tradition dictates father of the bride. Why? Because he is actually the main host traditionally. And of course, he has to give his daughter's hand away in marriage. Therefore, he gets the privilege of speaking first and welcoming the groom into his family. Modern society now, sometimes the bride or the chief bridesmaid or even guests want to speak. And you know what? That's fine. And again, most speeches are performed after the wedding breakfast. However, sometimes it's a good idea to perform the speeches before the meal. This method is mainly to ensure that the nervous speakers can get their speech over with and actually enjoy their meal. And one little tip, it'll also reduce the amount of alcohol consumed, especially by the poor old best man. Because obviously the father of the bride, I've touched on that, he's welcoming the groom. The groom then gets the opportunity to respond to that invitation to join the family, if you like, and to thank everybody. One thing I always say to people, don't ever forget to be thankful. You know, there'll be an awful lot of people in that room who have probably helped you organise your day, may even have paid for it. Be thankful, because it is a wonderful day for you to experience. So always say thank you. I use quite a lot something called the advice cards. And basically that's just a set of cards with some standard questions on there. But what we get then is that during the wedding breakfast, if there's a bit of a lull coming about, or you think, oh, okay, we need a bit of interaction, then I can just go along to any table, pick up an advice card where maybe Auntie Hilda has left you some lovely advice on how to stay married or stay young or whatever. And then we get some interaction with the guests, maybe at your expense, you have a bit of fun, whatever. That's just one little trick, for instance. There's some research came out last year about the cost of a wedding and what is actually remembered. And it's quite interesting that the largest cost of the wedding would be the venue and the catering at around about 38% of your budget. Then you go on to the wedding ring, the bridal attire, photo and video, gown, and then normally entertainment, which would normally include the DJ, let's say, would account for maybe just 5% of your normal budget. However, when they did the survey and asked people what they remembered about the wedding, if I was to say the venue and catering, bearing in mind this has cost you just under half of your budget, in terms of memories created, 8%. Flowers, 16%. Your wedding dress, your beautiful wedding dress, 18% of memories. However, entertainment, 38%, so almost exactly the same. So there's no correspondence between what you spend and what's actually remembered. So to me, at the end of the day, the music played at your wedding creates the atmosphere, but also it is what is most remembered.